the loan officer that's listening don't have content out there. Instagram isn't indexed in the same way as like long form.
Hey, it's Dino, and you are here for another episode of The Way. And this one it's a good one. I mean, they all are, right? But Katie Shive is my guest, and she's one of my favorite people. She's turned into one of my most favorite people of 2025. And here we are rolling into 2026, and I'm becoming good friends with her, and I'm learning a lot from her, which is what I love the most, because it seems like I'm always the one giving people ideas because I'm always so interested in learning. And she is like one step above all the time. She's always already learned what I'm trying to learn. So good friend to have, I'm telling you that. So today you're going to learn a lot about AI, but you're going to learn about what she does and what she is. She's a brand specialist. And ultimately, we're going to talk a lot about your personal brand and the importance of it. And then just how to get that out there, right? Between social media, between Google and all of the other AI platforms, and how to use it properly. So she's going to walk you through all of it. I think you're going to really love it. I know you're going to love her. Hope you enjoy the show. So here she is, the one I promised you, Katie.
All right.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I love to be here. I'm actually like, this is like the highlight of my week. I can't wait to jump in.
You're such a charmer.
Well, we are in sales, but I've been on several. This is my second podcast this week. I think what makes this one different is I actually know you and I have a friendship with you. And so this feels like a really fun conversation that we'll get to have.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's easy how I should say, how easy it is for us to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And even just when we first met at, I don't remember what show it was. Do you remember?
The Sales Master, not Sales Master or
No.
Momentum Builders. It was one of the conferences. Well, we met through First Home IQ virtually.
Yeah.
But then we met in real life, and I'll never forget because for all the listeners, if you've never met Dino in real life, like you're way taller than I ever anticipated. And I saw you from across the room, and of course you had your ethos swag, and I was like, well, there's only one person that I know that could fit that. But I mean, I like, oh my gosh, you are tall in real life, so you just stand out amongst the crowd.
All right. Well, I'll take it. So let's get beyond me and talk about you. So I found you really interesting because you you have enough knowledge in a lot of things, and a lot of knowledge in things that I actually really like and enjoy talking about.
Yeah.
So I get really fascinated with this kind of stuff, and that's why I wanted to bring you on so we can talk through your brand strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, AI, because we love talking about that, and then how things can work with each other. And there's so many things I've learned from you, and I thought I already knew a bunch of stuff. So I'm confident everybody listening today is going to learn a whole bunch. But before we get into all of that, I want everybody to know who you are personally and professionally first.
Cool. Well, I'd love to just start personally because I think we're all humans before we're ever professional. I'm married somebody that obviously I'm still in love with 16 years later. I joke that I don't have to like you, I have to love you, but I actually like my husband and I love my husband. But we have 2 kiddos, so I'm in the throes, 3 and 6. We're just in the thick of chasing small kids. I joke that they're feral. We live in Northwest Montana, so a lot of outdoor space and just kind of all the things that the Montana life brings, which is what we love. And then professionally, I've been in marketing for about 15 years, and specifically the mortgage space for almost 9. I kind of feel like I fell in backwards to the mortgage space. I was working at a fintech company. It ended up going belly up. And it was my last semester of graduate school. And all of a sudden I was graduating with being unemployed, which was kind of an interesting point to pivot in my career. Long story short, through some serendipitous events, I made my way over to Guild Mortgage, knowing nothing about mortgage at all, and spent 6 years learning everything I could from the bottom up, inside out, top down. And now the last almost 3 years, I've been consulting, branding, AI in the mortgage space and outside the mortgage space.
Yeah, and AI, I mean, it doesn't matter what you do anymore, right?
No.
It's like AI is just a part of it. At least it should be. So, quick
Yeah.
question: you like your husband?
Yeah.
and you guys get along. Is that because life is so boring in Montana that without each other you got nothing?
Yeah, there's nothing to it's funny, I joke that he dragged me here under duress. I mean, that is a joke, but there's a small thread of truth to that. Um, he's always wanted to live in Montana. He's a Southern California, Orange County guy just like you, grew up
Oh,
in,
wow.
North Orange County. I always joke because I lived in South Orange County for a while. Um
Significantly better, right?
oh my goodness, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I used to live in Mission Viejo, so, like, your backyard.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Who goes up to North Orange County?" But I won't dog on it. Um, but anyway, so when he kept trying to sow the seeds of Montana, I was very established at the time. We were living in Reno, Nevada, really established in my career, my community, and I could not see a life in Montana. I'm like, "There's more wildlife out there than there are people. Like, who lives in Montana?"
Yeah.
The joke is on me because before I knew it, we were, moving, and, we love it. It's really it's a different life. Our nearest town is hours away. Uh, to go to Trader Joe's, we literally will drive 3 hours. We will get a hotel, and we will take coolers, fill up about 3 or 4 shopping carts for a quarter, and then we go home. I was like, this is an expensive grocery store, but, I can't live without Trader Joe's." So,
How many kids are in the school?
well, my kids go to a private school, but there's like 50,000. So we're in Kalispell, Montana, which is, right by Glacier National Park. I don't want to make it sound like we're in the sticks, but for where you are in like very urban areas, Montana, anywhere in Montana would be like very remote. But we have Costco, we have Target, we have Home
Alright.
Depot. So, we're on the up and up of a little
So
bit.
now that we got that squared away, let's dive into this professional world of yours.
Yeah.
Uh, let's start with my home IQ because that's how I met you,
Okay.
and what you did with them,
Yeah.
and what the mission is over there because it is a good one. So we should give it a little plug.
Yeah. So first home IQ, that's just a shout out to Dave Savage and Kristen Messerly. But they're on a mission to really help shorten the gap of first time home ownership, especially among the next generation. So they create a lot of educational resources, content, scripts, strategies, community to help have better conversations sooner with first time home buyers. They connect with people in your audience, loan officers, realtors, really anybody can be having this conversation. So I spent a couple years supporting them, doing marketing, events, all kinds of stuff. That was just a really cool cause because I've been in that first seat of a first time home buyer and will absolutely tell you that buying a home changed my life, my family's life, and I really believe in it, obviously.
So what's your passion right now?
That's a good question. I'm really like what keeps me amped at 3 a.m. when I'm like wanting to run through a wall because I work a lot of late hours, is AI. And that sounds a little cliche because I mean we joked even in the beginning, like everybody's using AI. Um, but I'm loving learning how to use AI as a creative tool, not as a crutch and not as a tool to replace you, but how do you lean into AI to actually elevate your humanity? And how do we use that from a branding, a storytelling standpoint? Because I find a lot of people are still using AI like search. They're using it like Google, like 3 reasons why I should X. And then they're going over to, they're copying and pasting. And then that's their content strategy. The thing I think we all have to keep in mind is that our audience got AI at the exact same time that we got access to AI. And so we're not in a shortage of information, but there really is a shortage of translation. How do we take, like, going back to the homeownership process, for example, anybody can use AI to learn about, DTI and guidelines and programs and all these things. But like, what does that mean to me as maybe a single individual, young professional wanting to buy a home? Like, how do I translate that information? So I love using AI to find creative ways to disrupt, like through AI songs, through podcasts, all kinds of. How do you create mediums that bring truth to your audience, but entirely keep your humanity and your voice at the core of everything you create?
Got it. And your what do you call it? Brand strategy,
I
brand
know
story,
it's
brand.
I kinda throw around a couple different things because it is impossible. I'm sure you have a story with this, even how you named Ethos Lending. Like, finding a name today that has an available URL and is not, taken is, challenging, but, I call it the brand builder. It's a branding exercise. So I work with people to help them really get clear on what is your story, how does that translate to the audience that you want to work with and you currently work with? And then how do you better define, like what's your unique value proposition? Like, why are you really good and uniquely positioned to do what you do? Especially in mortgage, when we could argue it's really commoditized. Somebody could potentially, a program guidelines for FHA are going to relatively be the same. Rates might change a little bit, yes, but for the most part, it could be viewed as a very commoditized industry. So then why do I want to trust and work with you as opposed to somebody down the street? Because I think that's really important for, loan officers and realtors to understand. But we might think it's easy, but a lot of people really struggle to share that.
So can you answer that question? Why would somebody want to work with this loan officer over the other?
Like you, as an example, or just anybody in
Just
general.
anybody. Like
Yeah, it's
if a client comes to you, a loan officer comes to you and says, "Hey, I need you to clean me up,"
yeah.
right? Like, and you ask them that question. I mean, how do the majority of them even answer it? And then what are you going to do to make everybody
Yeah.
think that's who they want to go to?
And I mean, when we get to, some of the core pieces, again, like what you do at the end of the day to process a loan, some of those processes will look very similar. But I think it comes down to trust and it comes down to relationship, right? So when we look at some of the data, maybe you've even heard of some of the facts through First Home IQ, that 20% of next gen respondents that were surveyed last year said that they would trust a loan officer. And it only goes up to 33% if you're a realtor. So when we look at trust as being a huge foundational piece for why somebody would choose you, most brands, when we audit them, I would say are broke. We have content, but does that content really serve value? Does it meet them, the consumer, with where they're at with what they need? So a lot of what I focus on is like, okay, you can talk guidelines, you can talk content, but like your content is what makes you unique. So I don't want to just hear about your business. Like I want to see what are you doing in your life? Or like, do you have a family? Do you have kids? Like, I don't need a picture every day of your avocado toast, but like, how do you do things in a way that shows your humanity? If your faith is important to you, talk about that. If your gym routine is important to you, or whatever it is, find unique things where you can gather around people that you want to hang out with, because then the conversation is going to be more natural and it's not going to feel like you're just selling them on something, but you're having conversations. And oh, by the way, I also am a really good loan officer and you should choose me.
Yeah. So do you in the brand builder um, that you do with loan
Hmm.
officers and realtors, I assume,
Hmm.
how let's think how I can ask the question with so what does the process look like
Yeah.
for you to put somebody through it?
Hmm.
And I would imagine it can be exhausting for
Yeah.
certain people,
Yeah.
right?
I have had a couple different people tell me, they're like, "This feels like brand therapy." I was like, "I actually kind of like that." It is a little bit of that. I've had a grown man cry in the middle of our interview. I'm not even exaggerating. I've had a loan officer, I delivered her brand book to her. She sends me a screenshot, red face, crying. She goes, "This is the first time in 20 years of my career that I've been able to read words that feel like they match what I do and how I show up. I've just never had the words to put to it. So what the process looks like is I do a meeting. So I do a 90-minute recorded, most of the time it's always on Zoom because I want to record it. And I ask a ton of questions. Everything from, a lot of it is really getting into like your business. So we're looking at things like I want to understand what are the ideal clients that you want to work with. Everybody can say, oh, it's a first-time home buyer or it's a move-up buyer. Okay, well, that can be very broad. So let's talk through, is it a first-time homebuyer that's wanting to house hack and they're just out of college? Is it a first-time homebuyer that's been renting for 15 years and their rent is going to go up and they have a baby on the way and, their pressures and stressors are going to be different than, the 22-year-old. So let's really try to define who are the clients and the audiences that you want to be having conversations with. Also with your referral partners. Okay, so if you're a lender, you're obviously wanting to partner with realtors. And if you're a realtor, you probably want to partner with appraisers and, title and different people. So we had analyzed that. And then we're talking through things like your story. Like, how did you get into this business? I don't need your 50-year resume, but like, how did you get into this business? Why are you still here? Like, what on the hard days when you want to quit and the rates spike? Like, what makes you continue showing up to have a dog in the fight? So we're kind of just going over a gamut of questions. And then from there, I take those responses and I have over 100 different, I do
Mm.
use AI to help me with it, but I use over 100 different prompts. And I'm now asking really deep dive questions into psychodemographics of those buyer personas or partner personas. I'm looking at things like a GEO guide. So, what is their, I mean, it's a little technical and nerdy, but how are they showing up on AI searches and how can we help that like increase that visibility?
So
Um,
pause real quick. Tell everybody what GEO means.
so GEO is generative engine optimization. So you've probably heard maybe GEO or AEO, which is answer engine optimization. It's just it's a technical term that helps your content be optimized so that AI can discover it. So if I were to go, for example, to ChatGPT and I were to say, who are the top 5 loan officers in Mission Viejo, California? Would you or somebody from Ethos pop up? And what would make them pop up over somebody else? So, having a content strategy nowadays, our content has to speak to both humans, but also to the LLMs, which is the large language models. So, we want to make sure that our content is optimized and generative is it's user generated content so that your content is optimized.
All right, so let's break that down a little bit, right? How do you
Okay.
optimize that? And
Yeah.
then how do you get to that next level?
Yeah. So, one of the things, I mean, we think about anytime you ask AI a question, the whole premise is that AI wants to render the most correct answer. AI doesn't want to be wrong. It wants to, it refers and it renders information based on trust. So if you asked a question, give me the top 5 loan officers in this zip code, for example, and you, the loan officer that's listening, don't have content out there. Or maybe you're on Instagram, but Instagram isn't indexed in the same way as like long form content, for example. So maybe, in your zip code, there's another loan officer and they have more content. They have blog content, they have a Google business profile, they have reviews, they have maybe, some different content written on LinkedIn. Now, the AI tools that are scrubbing for that information have a much bigger pool to pull from to say, oh, this person is credible because, they're on Google, they're on LinkedIn, they have a blog, whatnot. So your content strategy is going to help drive your AI visibility.
So hang tight. I just did a
Feel like
A
you're gonna throw
search.
me a curveball. I'm like, I'm waiting
No, no,
for it.
no. I just did a search. I wanted to see something.
And
Um,
here's the thing, like with search, and this is wild because I understand the theory and the principles that help support and build a GEO strategy. I will say there is no like this is the ironclad algorithm that is like, you know, it's always changing. Just like nobody's gonna say, I know for certain I've cracked the Instagram algorithm or the LinkedIn algorithm. And so
yeah.
when you go to search, on ChatGPT, give me 5 loan officers in Mission Viejo, California, that response could change tomorrow also. So I have found that it is still very much a little bit like the Wild West in terms of how information is provided. And second to that, it's always changing because when you do that query today, in 30 days from now, maybe you have more content or maybe somebody else in your area has content. And it's not just who is so and so. I mean, most consumers are not just asking, who is Dino, right? They're going to be asking more like actual questions like, what's the difference between an FHA loan and a conventional loan? Or what do I need to qualify for down payment assistance in you know, Flathead County. So they're going to be more asking more questions. Now, going back to a content strategy that helps drive AI visibility, if you have content that is answering those very common questions and you optimize it in the format where you're talking, you mention your name and you bring in a location and you're using some of those keywords, now when AI goes to crawl it, they're gonna be able to see, "Oh, Dino is not just a very thin profile. He actually has multiple pieces of content." We call that your knowledge your know it supports your knowledge graph. And it's gonna have, more trust in your authority to refer you.
So in the old days, everything was about what you did on Google.
Mhm.
Now
Old days meaning,
it's
like, 2 years ago.
or 6 months ago even, a year
Kidding, but
ago.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's different strategy now though, right? So,
Mhm,
first of all, I'm gonna bring this back around, but I wanted to go back just a minute to branding and
mhm,
personal brand. And for the longest time, it was like, "Give me a break." Like, your personal brand doesn't mean anything. Like,
mhm.
stop spending money on brand, right? You're
Yep,
not Coca-Cola. You're
yep.
not something that a brand really matters. And now it's totally shifted
Mhm,
and we're like all about personal brand.
mhm.
And it's interesting because, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, right? I never cared about the personal brand. It was just my reputation. Like, who is
Yep,
Dino and what's his reputation?
yep.
And that's all that mattered. And now that ethos is, alive and all that, for the first time ever, like I really care about my
Yeah,
brand
yeah.
and I love my brand. And
Mhm,
and it's interesting because I spend majority of my day recruiting and I always tell the loan officers, like, yeah, no, I get it. Your personal brand needs to
mhm,
be exceptional.
mhm.
Now, I've always been a fan of, hey, it doesn't matter what company you're at, people are giving you their business.
Yep,
But I am starting to shift a little bit, and it's probably because I love our brand, but I'm
yep.
starting to shift. It's like, you should have a killer personal brand that's filled with trust
Mhm.
and integrity, and you should be aligned with a company that can match your personal
Yes.
brand reputation. And that's
100%.
where ethos comes in. And I'm like, there's nothing stronger now than having both of those come together to support one another. Because
Mhm.
from my perspective as the owner of Ethos, I want to have a bunch of loan officers that represent everything that I believe in.
Yep.
And it's hard when somebody's out there doing something totally different. So I'm actually going deeper into our personal brand as a company just so loan officers that don't fit
Yeah.
nicely into it
Mhm.
feel too uncomfortable to come over.
Yeah.
I'd rather have less loan officers, but I want everybody aligned in their personal belief
Mhm.
system, values, and really make it count.
Yeah.
And I think together, collectively, all representing that same, you know, quality of brand
Yep.
is powerful.
Yeah. And, for anybody that's listening that is not at Ethos and maybe you're curious or you're considering a move, I would really key in and listen to what Dino just said. Because here's the thing, I've worked on the side of, big, mortgage companies, as a W-2 employee on the inside, and as well, just in my consulting practice, I talk with, loan officers all over the country that represent from big IMBs to banks to credit unions, um, and I would say largely most companies are still very much afraid of giving over control to the loan officer to build a personal brand. It is changing, but there's still very much a this threat of like if the loan officer builds up a stronger personal brand, then it's going to overshadow them. Like exactly what you just said. It's not an or, it's an and. Right? We need exceptional personal brands that are aligned with really good companies. And so to hear from you, the CEO, that says you highly value both a personal brand and a professional corporate brand, that is unique in this industry. I will just tell you that.
Well, thanks. I do believe it though.
Good.
And I think as the world turns and things change, the more aligned you are
Mhm.
with who you really are as a person,
Yep.
the more successful you'll be and the happier you'll be. I tell a quick little story,
Yeah.
uh, then we'll get back to it. So, um, Hope Berman was my coach for a while,
Mhm.
and she had me do a disc profile. And it was really interesting because on the disc, there's I forget what they call it. There's like the whatever you are like at work, and then the
Okay.
natural and the adaptive,
Yep.
right? Natural is like what you're like when you're not at work and you're at home and how you are as like who you really are. And then
Mhm.
adaptive is the interesting part because it's like who do you turn into?
Right.
And and I'm a super high I. Like I just and that's me to the core. And I was
Yeah.
high on both sides. So I was true to myself on that. I was not a high S and a C. I came up a little bit at work because I had to adapt to do some of that stuff, but I was holding pretty true. But the one
Mhm.
thing that was off was my D. And usually
Mhm.
people people's D goes up in the adaptive because they feel like they have to go up. And mine was actually lower at work. And she's like, I've never
Interesting.
seen that. Usually everybody's goes up when they're at work, not
Ooh.
down. She
Yeah.
goes, why do you think that is? And it's interesting because I thought about it for a second. My response was simply this. I guess I view high D's as a-holes. And I didn't I didn't want to be perceived like that or even be like that, right? So
Yeah.
so I actually suppressed it even more. And
Hmm.
I thought I was doing a good thing. And she taught me a valuable lesson. And she said, you're not being true to yourself.
Hmm.
And if you're not being true to yourself, you're not going to be as happy and as successful as you can be.
Yeah.
So she goes, believe it or not, you can be a high D and not be an a-hole. Like
Yeah.
there's ways to do that, right? Like
Yeah.
you're comparing yourself to the wrong people there.
Yeah.
And but the lesson that I learned that I want to get across here is simply this: like be true to yourself
Mhm.
and who you really are. Because if you are, I think sky's the limit from there. You can do so much more, right?
Yeah.
And I believe at work you got so many people that are trying to be something they're not. And you said something earlier about like, if faith's important to you, lean into it, right?
Mhm.
If sports is important, lean into it. You go to the gym,
Yeah.
lean into it. Because ultimately, I do believe that people will align with you more
Mhm.
if they know who you are.
Yep.
And the personal brand, like Dino's personal brand when I did loans was simple. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody knew who I was. I was a man of faith, I was a family man, and I love to have a good time,
Yeah.
but it was always with my family and various things like that. So everything they saw on social media was
Mhm.
was who I was, and it was easy to say I trust him.
Yep.
Some people maybe not, but the people that I worked really really well with,
Mhm.
were very similar. They're like, I like him. He's a good
Yeah.
guy. And
Well,
I
and I
think
think
that's cool, right?
I mean, that is the golden standard for any type of content that you create. I mean, you really want it to be the best compliment that I can receive is if somebody is following my content and then we hop on a one-to-one Zoom or we meet in person or in any capacity for them to say, "Wow, you're exactly who I thought you would be." Right? So
Yeah.
it's not I think we do have this propensity to, kind of chameleon, and I will just tell you that's a huge part of my personal and professional journey that has led me to where I was. I spent 6 years in a company with a team that I loved, but I very much became a different person because I was trying to adapt to who I thought they needed me to be or that I would be to fit in. Now, when you strip away the layers, yes, there are parts of my personal story that I had to own and kind of grow up and work through. We all have that. Um, but it took me hitting complete and utter burnout. Part of my story is I quit my corporate job. I quit a job that I liked with a team that I helped build. I had no backup plan. I had 3 months of reserves, and that was it. And my husband was like, "I will give you 3 months." I'm not like it was a control thing, but he was like, "Please take 3 months." But it was in the position of, "Hey, this you're not gonna just transition to being a full-time stay-at-home mom." Like, we needed that second income. So I took 3 months, and then, it was 2 weeks before my 3-month kind of sabbatical, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at just life, and I'm like, I don't have a backup plan, and I've got, like, 2 weeks, and I'll never forget my husband, we're sitting in the kitchen, he's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna do?" I'm like and that's when the reality set of I've spent 6 years helping other people build their brand, their voice, tell their story, and I've essentially ignored mine. So now I'm trying to, like, go build trust with no real strong, content, um, and I decided when I was gonna rebuild this time, I was gonna rebuild and on the terms of what you see is what you get. So I do talk about my faith because to me, my relationship with Jesus is very important. I do talk about my kids because I love being a mom. And if you call me and my kids are in the background, that is real life. Like I am frantically replying to emails in the carpool lane. That's just my reality today. And so if that doesn't work for you, or if you are turned off by my beliefs or whatever, that's okay. We can respectfully we don't I don't have to not everybody is my people. So the quicker that I could come to terms with that, now one has given me a lot of freedom. I'm like, "Oh, I like who I am, and I get to like the story that I tell." And now the quality of clients that I work with, I flip and love all of my clients. I wake up, I'm like, "How did I get to work with them and them?" Because it
Yeah.
first came to me owning my story and now, I mean, we all say it's kind of cliche, but it's like you attract who you are, but there is a truth to that. So I think that also goes back to, what you're building at Ethos. You leaning into here is our story and here is the culture. We're building our whole company on culture first. What are the people? What are the vibes? What do we want to build? Now let's attract that. And that's where brands, I believe, are really powerful.
Yeah. I love it. So we've covered a bunch of stuff. I want to go back to Google for just a little bit because
Yeah.
you actually taught me a couple things that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things was when you drive to work, you should go to Google Maps and plug in your work address,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden, it's going to think that people want to go
People want
there,
to go there. Yep.
right? So that was a great takeaway, and I was like, "Gosh, that's so easy." So now I just kind of plug it in every once in a while, and I don't
Like,
remember to do it
"Hey,
every day, but I
every
plug it in.
day at this time, we're going
Yeah,
here." Yeah, it's a great
and
little
by the
hack.
way, just quick little side benefit to it. It tells you if there's a cop down the road, so like do it anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Now, the other thing about Google, how to optimize Google, right? You got to have there's the company like page, right? And it's got the
Mhm.
company, but every loan officer should have their own business
Yes.
page,
Yes.
right? And in their business page, how do you optimize it? Um, like get kind of down and dirty for me. Let's start with the days you're open. Does that
Yeah.
matter?
I'm gonna pull up mine in the background just to use it as a reference point. Um, First of all, you contact me. I'm kidding. I'm not even like that's not even the bread and butter of exactly all that I do. But yeah, so I just to start, every loan officer, yeah, I think realtors too, if you can, but every loan officer, if you're listening and you do not have a Google business profile, that is your first call of action when you get done with this podcast is go claim that. It's free. It's not hard to set up, but you will thank yourself in a year from now, maybe even 6 months from now, when you start nurturing and growing, that footprint. Um,
Now, real quick, just to pause there. I'm assuming there's got to be some compliance to it, right? Like fill in the blank at Ethos Lending or something, right? And then NMLS
yeah,
number and
I would think that most companies also monitor this. And, this is where I would defer to, your compliance department. You can always send it to them, to like do a quick review to make sure. Um, I like to put in your name and your company name in the title because a lot of times people will search you first and your title. You want to make sure, yes, have your NMLS number in there. You're gonna wanna select the category, I believe there's 2 for mortgage. I think it's mortgage brokerage and mortgage lending. Don't quote me on that. I know there's 2 categories for mortgage. So you wanna select the correct business category. Um and then your money piece is your description. You are allotted 750 characters to describe you, what you do. And I will tell you if you wanted to have one description that was going to be the most optimized, this is the one to be the most important. So, of all of your profiles, don't get super flowery and verbose and creative. You wanna be like brass tacks. You want that to be very solid for GEO. So one tip that I would say is go into your preferred AI platform, and I would literally feed it a prompt, something like, "Please help me write my Google business, description, and help me make sure it's optimized for GEO." And the important part
do
is
you always say
ask.
please
Yeah.
and thank
I
you
mean,
or
I'm much nicer. My husband's always like, "Why do you say please and thank you?" I'm like, "'Cause when it gives me my summary, I want it to describe that I'm a flowery person." Um, but what I always like in any of my prompts is ask any clarifying questions before giving me the answer. So then it might, it might ask some questions, um, but you'll have some of your keywords in there. So you want to make sure that obviously your full name is in there. One thing that's important is AI also is looking when we talk about your core record entity. Now it's getting a little bit nerdy, but you want to make sure that is consistent across all your platforms. So, for example, I could be, Katie on Google, I could be Caitlin on Facebook, I could be Kate on Instagram. Like, can we assume that AI should be able to infer? Yes, but there is actually structure and strategy. Be consistent. Whatever name you are, if that is a compliance thing and it has to be your legal name, then go with your full name. But make sure that that's your consistent name is everywhere across LinkedIn, Instagram, Google, wherever you're showing up.
should you go ahead and put all your social media handles in there?
You can I believe down below, I was just looking at mine, there's a way to add in your other links, like, there is a section for social profiles, so
Okay.
don't put your profiles in the description, um, but you want things like for your core record entity, and AI can help you create that, but you want your name, um, a geographical kind of it doesn't need to be your exact address, but, an example is it would say for me, it's like Katie Shive is um, you know, a a Montana-based branding and AI strategist who helps loan officers, build out authentic messaging. So you can see it's like, who am I? Katie Shive. Where am I located? Montana. What am I doing? I'm brand and AI strategy. Who do I help? right? So it doesn't sound as like flowery and creative, but Google is the one platform I would say fully optimize as much as you can.
And another thing you taught me on Google that I didn't know was that you can actually do blogs on
Yes.
Google
It's called a
or posts, I
post.
guess,
Yeah,
right?
it
Yeah.
and they limit you to 300 characters. So I always tell people, "Hey, if you're gonna post on Instagram, go take that exact same post, like the graphic, the 1080 by 1080 square, whatever size dimension you use, and that caption, and just copy and paste it." Are people going over to Google, like a social grid to read content? No. But if you look at repurposing your content, humans are going over to Instagram, but LLM crawlers are looking at Google, and Google is like high in terms of credibility and authority because it's Google.
'Cause it's Google. Yeah.
Google, yeah. I will tell you one other thing on that, and this is just rolling out. It is not, even universal yet. I did a podcast about this in December, and I was so pumped to find that it's here as of last week. Um, but the Gemini, ask button is now integrated into Google Maps. Have you heard this?
Yeah,
'Kay.
you told me.
Oh, I told you. Okay, so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't like so if when you pull up
See.
somebody on Google Maps, I have only found 3 loan officers so far. Not that I've, like, queried the biggest list, but of, 10 or 15 loan officers, I've only found it on 3 so far. And I don't know why it's on some and not all. But when you go, for example, Sean Kaplan he's one that I found. Um but when you go and look at the profile, the Google Ask button is now in there. And when you pull that up, it will give you AI suggested questions that you can ask to learn about that individual business. So if we just translate this outside of mortgage, say you want to go look up a restaurant, some of the questions will come up suggested of like, do they have gluten-free options? Do they have outdoor seating? Are they kid friendly? Now, why is this important? Because AI is going to go scrub your reviews and it is going to render information based on what your third party reviews have said about your business. Because you could go in and write a blog post and be like, I'm the number one lender in the whole world. And we could write content to say whatever we want. It doesn't take that content in the same weight as a third party like review. When you can respond to your reviews, the second part of that is I would always respond in a way of like, say, for example, the review was like, oh, we're so grateful to buy our first home. Right. So now when you, the loan officer, are responding, you can say, thank you so much for letting, the Ethos team help buy your first home. Welcome to Mission Viejo. Something like that. So now you're seeding, reiterating back and confirming, adding more content to support first time home loans, you're in Mission Viejo, California, you reference Ethos Lending. So,
Hey, by the way, I got the Gemini Ask thing on mine.
you have it? See, I told you it's rolling out. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, I don't know what is some and not others, but um it's here and I'm all for it.
So I'm gonna look at something real quick. Let me see. So I don't do these anymore. So I'm just gonna see how good my assistant is.
Uh-huh.
We cannot express. This is the respond. The response. We cannot express how fortunate we are. That's the client. See, we haven't even responded back to this one. Let me find one that has a response though, because when I was doing it, I was really strict on this.
Uh-huh.
So let me see how it says. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We're honored to have walked with you for nearly a year, nearly a year leading up to your first home purchase.
Mhm.
Um, Mario and the Ethos team, Mario's my
Yep.
LOA, Ethos team. So there's a couple things right there. Take pride in helping clients prepare financially. Stay ready with pre-approvals and move seamlessly through escrow. Our mission is to provide clear mortgage guidance, responsive communication, and yada yada yada. So when I was doing it, just advice to everybody.
Yeah.
I got really like granular with, um, you know, we are so grateful to be working, with you. We
Mhm.
love working with first time home buyers, and it was our pleasure to help you buy your home in Mission Viejo, California. And nothing made us happier than getting you a low interest rate on a 30-year fixed.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's a little over the top, but you can go deep into this, and it really makes a difference. So you guys need to pay attention to that and pay attention to actually responding. Do the
Well,
response.
and I was talking earlier, on a call today, and I was like, we're all gonna just chase the new shiny thing, which is like, we gotta get reviews because of AI. Like, in reality, reviews should have always been a huge part of our business. We're in sales, we're in
Yeah,
service, and reviews, referrals, we're in the referral business.
yeah,
And, responding to every review shouldn't be like a we should do that. That's just like that's the expectation. If somebody's going to go out of their way to generously give you a review, then you owe them a very kind reply. That's just my personal belief. Um, but yeah, I absolutely respond. There's a fine line of like, I don't know from a compliance or a confidential standpoint of like how much information you can share. Um, but yeah, be as specific and genuine as you can. So you're speaking to both the human and the LLMs.
yeah. Um, what about blogs?
Ah,
So
yes.
let's dive into that a little bit,
Mhm.
right? There's posting, and then there's the LinkedIn newsletter,
Yep.
which I actually didn't know about either. I do now. I have one,
Good.
but and then I also have Substack, and I've been doing
Yeah.
stuff on Substack, and it's like, gosh dang, it's just like one. How many more things do I have to keep doing? So I decided not to stop because I actually like the Substack,
Mhm.
like platform.
Yeah.
But then LinkedIn's got this built in, and you already have thousands of people there, so it's grown much faster than the Substack model.
Yeah.
But is there any value in having both? And what is the value in doing blogs, and what should they look like?
Man, so many good questions. First of all, I wouldn't say it's certainly hurting you to have both. I would say if I was a time poor or time stressed loan officer that had to kind of have a brass tacks content strategy, I would choose one platform. Or depending on what you're talking about, you could copy and paste. Um, but LinkedIn is great. I'll tell you this, I scrubbed, the website is called Ahrefs, um, but they queried it was like over 6 I think it was over 6 million Chat GPT queries, and they scrubbed it, and then this report was showing of the US-based top 100 US-based websites out of those 6 million queries, the number 1 do you know what the number 1 site was? Most referenced site?
Ethos lending.
Well, that was close. Um, Reddit, which,
Okay.
6 months ago, I was like, "What is Reddit? Who uses Reddit?" Now I'm
I
into
hate
Reddit.
Reddit, by the way.
I freaking I'm like, "How do we keep up with all of this?" But,
Yeah.
um and then LinkedIn was 70, I think it was 71.
No kidding.
Why is that important? Because when you take away the Amazons, the Targets, all of those things, the People magazine, because you're not creating content to get on those platforms, when you strip those away and you look at user generated like hosting platforms, Reddit, then LinkedIn. So, why LinkedIn is also important, like right now, I have a personal blog on my website. If you went to katieshive.com, you could go read my blog. Okay, you would think that is the most important. Now, I post my blog first on my personal website, and then I schedule my long form content on LinkedIn, usually 24 to 48 hours later. Why do I do that? Because I want the canonical URL to live, the source to live on my personal website. That just means like where was the original thought? I want that to go back to my native URL because I own that domain. But when you look at LinkedIn, why is LinkedIn ranked like with high credibility because it is verified that you're a real human behind it. How many fake Instagram accounts do you think there are? Right? People pay for Instagram followers, which it's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
it's the same thing. You can pay for followers on your blog and that whole thing. So anybody can go create a blog. You don't have to be a real person. You could have a whole fake strategy behind that. It's much harder to go create a fake LinkedIn profile that's getting like reviews and follows and likes and all of these things. So they verify that as like this is a real person with a real email, a real headshot, like a real human behind it. So that content is weighted different than a personal blog. And I don't have 10 years of following on my blog. So your LinkedIn, going back to it, if I had to only post long form content, I would start with LinkedIn. And that
And
is it's indexed. It's well indexed for LLMs, and it's a great way to create content to put it out there with your name.
so in your case, you do your personal URL
Mhm.
first. 24
Mhm.
hours later, you do LinkedIn.
Yep.
And if LinkedIn is the better source of truth, wouldn't it be better to go there first, or does it not matter because it's still there?
I mean, the goal is like, I would love to still be blogging in 10 years from now, and I'd love to have more traffic and weight assigned to my blog. I don't have enough history. Somebody's like, the crawlers are going to look at your blog and be like, well, you started that 6 months ago, but you've had your LinkedIn account for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
What is more of an authority ranking? Um, so anyways, yeah, I
Real
mean,
real quick,
yeah,
you know what the negative though is?
what?
'Cause I'm with you, right? And I'm doing it. I didn't know that I should post it on my website first. I'm trying to think through the strategy with that, but I just kinda do it all. I think I post it
I don't know that
first.
it's gonna be a deal breaker either.
Yeah. I post it first on LinkedIn, and then I send it to my assistant and say, "Get this on our website."
Yep,
Uh,
it's fine.
right? So that's how I do it. But Richard Mulligan,
Yep.
uh, I interviewed him. Actually, he just went live, I think yesterday.
He's, like, wicked
Yesterday.
smart, by the way.
He what?
He's wicked smart, by the way.
Oh my gosh, he really is. So he's my coach, right? He's my
Okay.
personal coach.
Well, now
And
you're
him
smart for hiring him.
yeah, and a little bit more broke, but it's okay.
It'll pay off,
It's
it'll pay off.
it's paying off.
Every time.
I'm telling you, he when I signed up on Go Coaching, um, Amir
Mhm.
and Richard have a joint coaching program together specifically for recruiting. So it's
So
business
good.
owners and branch managers. And I got to tell you, it's so powerful. And it's
Mhm.
so powerful because it's not just recruiting, it's learning all of this other stuff. And Richard had this 5-day intensive,
Yeah.
and the dude is wicked smart. Like he just didn't stop. I mean, that alone could have lasted me for the whole year. I was
Yep.
like, all right, I got my money's worth right
Yeah.
now. This is more than enough. And I learned a lot from there. But one of the things he told me, which I was like, haven't thought of that, and that's LinkedIn could just all of a sudden one day change something. And then
Yep.
just like that, you lose
It's
it
a
all.
rented platform.
Yep. Because it
Mhm.
happened to him. And he
Yep.
had like, I don't know, 50,000 something people on it.
Yep.
And just like that, it was gone. So always have it on your personal as
Yep.
well.
Multiple places. Yep.
Right. Yep. So it's just a valuable little tidbit that I thought was worth mentioning there.
So when I
Um,
do my stuff really quick, when I do my stuff, I call it content confetti, or I repurpose my content. So I will take my core idea. So when I write it for my blog, I'm writing anywhere roughly like 15 to 1800 words because I am banking the fact that most people are not going to my website and reading my blog. Right? So I just kind of like park it there. Now, when I go to LinkedIn, I'm like, I got a quick audience and this better land. And if I don't get an audience, like they're not going to read it. So then I repurpose it. So I will rerun it through my custom AI assistant that will then take the core idea and then I'll say, hey, take this down to 1,000 to 1,200 words. Here's my audience. Same content topic, but change out some of the words, maybe change out some of the stories. So now it looks like I'm getting two pieces of separate content, but it's the same idea and it's the same concept. So I've just repurposed it, but I get credit for two different blog posts instead of one just copy and pasted in two places.
Got it. Um, did you happen to see my latest blog?
No. Shoot, you're putting me on the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I
It was a good
know.
one. It was a good one. So I'm going to talk about it because it was just good. Uh,
I will
it
fall on that sword. I will fall on that sword. Please tell me, did that just come out?
no, a couple days ago,
Okay.
yesterday maybe. I don't know, but you should be you should be on it.
I mean,
You know.
I do see them and I do read yours, but I did not I will just be honest, I did not read yours this week.
Well, thanks for liking it and not reading it.
I didn't
I'm
even like
kidding.
it. Okay.
I'm
Anyways,
kidding. I'm
let's
kidding.
not digress.
Okay,
What did you
but
talk
I do want
about?
to talk about it real quick because I actually it came out of my Thursday morning men's group.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it really like resonated, and I was like, this is so good. So I decided to write about it. So um, we were talking about like faith under pressure,
Mhm.
and how the reality is when in the book of James, right? Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It sucks when you face trials. Like it's terrible. But if you can look at it from a different perspective, which is one of my favorite words, perspective, you can
Mhm.
realize that something really good is actually happening.
Mhm.
But you have to lean into it. And this blog post that came out of it was trees. Trees, there was the biosphere something in Arizona test, right? They had this perfect, like, I think it was a dome of some sort, and they had this perfect environment in there, perfect soil, perfect air, perfect light, and the trees grew. And guess what? They toppled. Do you know why?
'Cause the root system didn't go deep.
They forgot the wind. So there was no pressure on the trees. There was no wind and there was no like trials of any kind, just like what we face as humans, right? So when wind hits the trees dig deep. Their roots will dig deeper and wider in
Mhm.
order to be able to sustain the wind,
Mhm.
and they become stronger because of it.
Mhm.
So I think it's super important because we all face trials, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do we do with it? And how do we become better with it? And do our roots dig deep and wide in order
Yeah.
to hang on, or do we just give up,
Yeah.
right? And there's a great picture. It's probably from Montana. It was a buffalo that is in the midst of this
Yes.
massive winter storm,
Mhm.
and it just got no emotion on it, but it's the only animal that's heading towards the storm.
Yep.
Why? Because it's the quickest way out of the storm.
Yep.
And there's so many things you can do with that. You can either just hunker down in place and wait for it to leave, which, hey, sometimes isn't such a bad idea, might seem
Mhm.
okay, but at some point, you got to make a move, right?
Yeah.
Or you can just run away from it, and the storm never goes away; it just keeps on following you.
Yeah.
And I believe we should lean into it and go head on, so
Mhm.
that our roots will grow deep and wide and much stronger. So that was the first half of the blog. The second half of the blog was the redwood trees.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea what their roots do?
They go super wide, don't they?
Yeah, and what happens when they go super wide? Because there's usually a whole bunch of other redwood
I think
trees there as well.
they connect with others and
They
they create
they
this.
intertwine
Yep, they
and
create this
become
ring.
super strong together,
Mhm.
and that's how they grow so big and don't fall over,
Mhm.
because they come together as a unified group
Yeah.
to hunker down, right? And they can withstand the storms. So I just found that really interesting. I think there's some lessons there for us. First of
Yeah.
all, I mean, you should go and read my blog.
I haven't, gosh darn it, now I will absolutely
Uh,
read it
all
because it's
right.
good.
But second of all, there's valuable lessons there, and I really truly feel that, and I
Yeah.
think there's just like hunker down and spend some time learning, spend
Mhm.
some time getting yourself out of the storm by going head on. AI is so scary for a lot of people, and they're either running away from it, right? The opposite way of the storm, which isn't doing any good because it's not going to go away.
Not going
It's
away.
coming. It's coming for you. You can hunker down in place and just keep doing Google searches and think that that's going to be enough, and it is getting better. I mean, Google search isn't bad already, but But the reality is you're missing out on the majority of the things that AI can do. Like, you have no idea. I'm talking to so many people right now, but you have no
Right.
idea what is capable on AI until you go head on and just
Mhm.
hunker down and do it.
There's some mindsets. I'll just say really fast. I had a conversation today with a gentleman who we were talking about AI adoption, and he said, I know when I first started using AI, I really struggled with the idea that I was cheating. By using AI, it wasn't my actual thoughts, or I didn't write every single word. Um, and I like to say, like, hey, if you're the human in the loop, if you come to AI with the idea and the strategy, use AI to help organize your ideas. I would argue that you probably reference ChatGPT or AI in some capacity with your blog, whether that's research, learning about the redwoods or whatever. There's no shame in that, but like it's your mindset. And then I think too, the faster that you can realize, hey, you don't have to master AI overnight, but what can you do every day to be a little bit better? How can you be better every day by
Yeah.
using it and integrating it into your life?
Yeah. And I'll say too, because I was trying to teach a friend and he's like, but AI wrote it for you. And I was like, not really. I go, it's my voice. He
Yeah.
goes, but it wrote it for you. I'm like, no, you have to understand how many hours I've spent training it, like
Yeah.
telling it who I am. So it
Mhm.
knows exactly who I am. I mean, it still references my dad all the
Yeah.
time because it knows how important my dad was to my way of thinking now. So
Mhm.
I've spent that time and best time to plant a tree was yesterday. You didn't
Yep.
plant it yesterday, best time is right now,
Yep.
period, right? It
Yep.
was 20 years ago, and then 10 years ago, and then 5 years ago, and then yesterday, and then today.
Yep.
It's never too late. So I wanna stress that, and you and I have geeked out on a lot of this stuff, so I love it,
Yeah.
and I love talking to you about it, and, I spent so much time in it, and I was having so much fun because I was, like, forward thinking with it, and
Mhm.
then I will admit that I got bogged down with it because I started doing so much on it, and then it just started becoming work. I just started adding work to my plate.
Yeah, right.
That th
It's no
and
longer a leverage. It's addition
Yeah,
to capacity. Yeah.
but I am coming out of the weeds a little bit now, and I'm starting to get a little bit more back into, all right, let's see about with the next level.
Yeah.
And the next level for me is automation. Like, I wanna automate it. And we're coming up on time, but I wanted to get a couple quick things out.
Yeah.
Uh, Different models, and I want to give a plug for Huz.ai as well, but I want to end with Huz.ai.
Mhm.
Um, I know that your personal journey with chat was a
Little salty.
disaster.
Little
Yeah,
salty.
little faulty. You lost all those countless hours you had put in.
Mhm.
I'm on chat and I refused to leave because of that up until Sunday. On Sunday, I decided I'm going to go ahead and make that transition. So I'm going to put a little time and effort into it, just like I did when I first got chat up and running. But
Mhm.
I'm going to make the transition over to Gemini.
'Kay.
And mostly because I pay for a chat pro or whatever it is, the $20 one for my kids and my wife. And then I have the business one, and I only have 3 people on it, but that's $90, and another
Mhm.
20 there. I'm paying $110 for chat, and
Mhm.
we all have Google, and
Yeah.
Gemini is awesome. It's like,
Yeah.
why am I paying $110 a month when we should just all be on this?
Well, and the workspace has better protections around your IP and your search. So that's an easy answer, that right there alone.
Yep. And then, NotebookLM,
Yep.
I just love NotebookLM. I think it's so amazing. Yeah. I taught so my son, was like, "Next time you have a test you need to study for,
Mhm.
let me teach you how to study. Let me
Yeah.
just show you this new way," right?
Yep.
And all I did, it was a science test. He showed me the pages in the book that he needed to study.
Yep.
I took pictures of all of them. I uploaded them to NotebookLM. And for all you guys listening right now, NotebookLM is a Google product and
Yep.
it's free. You already have it because you have Google.
Mhm.
And and we're going to talk about everything it does in a second, but I I view it as as a learning tool. I mean, you can the way to learn is
Yep.
different now. And
Yep.
you don't have to sit and learn the way you did, you know, X amount of years ago back in school, because
Yep.
that that method has never changed. It's never changed. It's been exactly the same. And I read a book one time, and I don't even remember what it was, but it said if we want to have more successful kids, before we start teaching them about all of these things they need to learn,
Yeah.
we should start by teaching them how to
How to
learn,
learn. Mhm. Yep.
because everybody misses it, but everybody can learn a little differently. So, Notebook LM, try this for your kids, do it for yourself. So, here's what I did. I took the pictures, it was like 9 pages, uploaded them to Notebook LM. And then it was, I forget what it was, but and then I went to YouTube and I
Mhm.
found a couple videos, like real instructional videos describing exactly what this was. And I uploaded the link from YouTube.
Yep.
And then I took, it was like the study test that they had, and
Yeah.
uploaded that. And I said, gave it the prompt, right? I have a eighth grade boy who has a hard time focusing and, sitting still enough to study all this stuff. So, teach him how to remember, not just memorize this, but how to remember this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then started dropping everything in. For those of you guys that don't know, over off to the right, there's all these little features. You can just say click, 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 click. It created an infograph that was really cool. It created a slide deck that was really cool. So if you're in business, you need to make a deck
Yeah.
to do a presentation. Boom, done. And then the video, and then the podcast. And for
Mhm.
those of you guys that don't know what that means, right? The video is really simple. It had a duck. It created a video, and it was a duck floating in a body of water that had a bunch of like waves like this, and the duck wasn't moving with the current. It was
Oh,
just
cool.
going up and down.
Yeah.
And it was like, why does it do that, right? And it
Yeah.
totally explained all of this stuff. And some kids, especially, you can see it now, how they're on YouTube all the time, and they actually learn from
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep.
But all we do is beat them up because they're on YouTube all the time. But it's
Right.
like, what if we switched it and
Yeah.
just said, learn from YouTube, but
Yeah.
learn what you have to learn for school? And then the podcast is like so incredible. And I
It's
know this is old
amazing.
school for you, but for people listening, it created two people talking
Yep.
about everything that I uploaded to it. And it went through this, like, I guess, like a lesson of how and why all of this is happening. And it came to the duck. And so some people hear audibly, some people hear or learn visibly,
Mhm.
some people learn from watching, right? There's all the different things. So it started talking about why the duck doesn't move with the current, how it just bobs up and down and stays still. And I was like, watch. And I told my son, I'm like, watch. So I hit the button, it says join podcast. Right. And then you're like, I still don't understand why the duck doesn't move. And it's like, oh, of course you don't understand, right? Let me
Yeah.
explain it a different way to you. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is so amazing. People need to get over the fear of AI
Yeah.
and harness the power of it.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend who is in the she's in medical school. She has 2 small kids, and so outside of her lectures, when she has to commute every day, she throws her notes and her lectures in NotebookLM, and she's, doing the same thing. Um, just to tie that back down to our audience, one of the ways that I love doing that is I will go onto somebody's Google business profile or their Zillow or experience.com. I will go literally just highlight all of their reviews. I'll go paste it into Notebook LM. I don't even give it a prompt. It's like just that intuitive. And then for the podcast style, you can select date, debate, debrief, whatever. But I'll do, and you can even select a length and you can select up to 40 different languages. But I'll do like a 3-minute podcast review of why that loan officer is successful. And then I will send it to the person. And you know what I say? Because less is more. I'll usually say, hey, I was listening to a podcast this morning and they were talking about you. Have you heard this? Well, now people are going to be like, well, what did they say about me? So, of course, they're going to go click on the link. So, loan officers, if you're listening to this, what if you did that for your realtors? So now you go copy their reviews, you send it to them and say, "Hey, I heard this podcast today talking about how awesome you are as an agent. Have you heard this?" Now, obviously, it's going to be a value add for them when they come back to you. You can be like, "Of course, that's AI. But this isn't just me flattering you. This is your real hard earned, verified reviews. And this is what your clients truly are saying about you."
Yeah.
And now you've
Great.
just completely
Oh, yeah.
joy bombed them with truth. So, in a learning in a way that's different. And it takes you all of about 5 seconds to go create.
Yeah. Such a great idea. And then let's switch gears. I went off on NotebookLM, but why don't you go off on Huzi.ai? That's Huzi.ai.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been using it. I've been
Yeah.
diving. I finally dived in. I mean, I did dive in. I just didn't like it
Yeah.
right away,
Yeah.
and because I didn't understand how to use it properly. And
Yep.
quite honestly, it was like this battle between right brain and left brain for
Totally
me.
with
And
that. Yeah.
and it was, the wrong side. The practical brain was winning over the other side. But now that I got it, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's
Now the
powerful.
light bulb's gonna come on and you're gonna be like, "Whoa." Yeah, I love that we can text each other. Like, I think, well, I'm an hour ahead of you, but I think the text came in at like 7:30, so 6:30 your time, and you're like, "Have you done this and who's they?" And I'm like,
I
"This
think it
is
was
great."
5:54 my time, by the way.
Perfect. Yeah, I was texting Eric, he's the CEO of Huz.ai, and I think I texted him over the weekend I was in it, and it was 3 a.m. my time, and he was still up working on it, so it was wild. Um, but Hoozy is a really, gosh, I probably wouldn't even do it justice, but there's a few different tools in Hoozy. So there's the Canvas and the Spark Pad. But the Canvas is really cool. I would say this is probably more of an intermediate to power user of AI, but think of it like an actual canvas. So rather than going into Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude and then running a single chat thread in there, a canvas in Hoozy is literally like you can have multiple files, you can have personas, you can have context boxes, and then you can have chat boxes and you can group those. So, like, for example, going back into like my brand builder that I do, I have different categories. Like, I'm helping build out your brand foundations, then your GEO guide and your, client personas. So I could have different sections on the exact same canvas, and then I can link the single chat history, or I can create multiple chat histories. And even within that single chat bot, I can toggle between Gemini, Chat GPT, Gemini, or Claude or
One.
Hoozy. So it's a non-linear AI tool that allows you to bring in multiple mediums of content and learning documents and all kinds of personas and whatnot, and then have lots of different conversations all in one whiteboard, as a sense. And then with SparkPad, which I'm still building out testing some of my stuff on SparkPad, that's more agentic. So it's developing, like, for example, say if I did a brand book for you, you have this great brand book, but now you're like, well, how the heck do I use it? Well, I also have custom AI assistants, and they all have very specialized skills. So now you could go ahead and subscribe to my framework and get access to, all of my different copywriters and my different skills that I have that I've spent a lot of time training. Add your brand book to it. And now you're writing content like a professional copywriter with your voice because the two are paired together. So it's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing, you guys. I highly recommend it. And don't give up because it is intermediary to advanced, but don't give up because once you figure it out,
Yeah.
you're just like, boof, like, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
The one thing
Uh,
I would just say, and I'll end that part of the conversation with this, is I read an article, it went viral. He's a young guy, I wanna say he's in his 20s, on LinkedIn. I heard it got over 100 million views or shares, so that in and of itself should tell you something. But he wrote an article for his parents to talk to them about what is AI and why should they be using AI in their semi-retirement state. And it just struck a chord with obviously 100 million people. Um, but I loved what he talked about, how, AI isn't going anywhere. So what can you do today to be embracing it? And he gave some really practical steps of don't just be on a single platform. Try Claude, try Gemini. They all have free versions. And where you can integrate it into elements of your life and spend time every single day, at least a little bit every day trying. And if you do just those couple of things, you're going to be well situated for any of the kind of pivots and change disruptions that AI is bringing.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the reasons why I also like Huz, because you can play with all of the
All of them.
platforms in one shot. Okay, moving on, because of course time is
Time
just
is precious.
gone by here. Um, I asked this question to every loan officer, which you're not,
Okay.
but I still want to see how you're going to answer it. If you were a loan officer
Hmm.
and you know everything you know, but I'm going to pick you up and drop you off in the middle of nowhere, somewhere where you
Hmm.
don't know anybody. Let's call it Iowa, and
Montana.
or yeah, Montana, and you. I'm going to give you just enough money so you can do some stuff, but not like a lot, right? Like you're a struggling brand new loan officer, but you have a lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
and you have to make $1 million.
Shoot.
And by the way, you can't come back and see your family or talk to them until you make
Yeah.
$1 million. So what are you going to do?
Dang, that pressure is so real. Because I literally would probably if you put I can't see my family behind it, that's a whole different level of intensity. Um, I mean, I would obviously get in front of as many people as possible. So, what does that look like digitally? Like, I would make sure that I had content, like I was creating content and documenting it. But I think I would just even as many face to faces, having real conversation. Somebody once told me they're like, if I was in that scenario, I'd be going to, Home Depot. I'd be just like literally almost commandeering people out of a desperation. And of course, I don't want to go commandeer somebody in the plumbing department. Um, but I think to me, what that gets at is we should be so convinced in the skills and the values that we bring that there is an absolute conviction that if we have a conversation that what we're offering is going to help people, right? So sometimes I feel really uncomfortable like I'm selling, but if there was a desperation like I'm not going to see my family until I do this, I would be forced to get so clear on why am I the best option, why should you choose me, and how am I get like there is just a desperation, and I don't feel like enough people in our industry are clear and desperate. And so we've just kind of continued to operate, and then we wonder, why am I not closing? Why are people choosing the person down the street? Well, you don't talk about what you do. You show up to carpool, but still nobody knows that you're a lender. So do people know what you do, and do they know it in a way of how you help and why you are the best option to help them? If you get really clear on that, those conversations now will come up more natural and they will come up more frequent, for you to actually be leading with value and not just, quoting a rate sheet. So that's probably what I would do. And then I'd get really uncomfortable and I'd be doing selfies and videos and talking like my life depended on it because it would.
It would. Yeah. It's a great question. I had an old coach of mine right after I had a baby. He
Yeah.
told me he's going to take my baby and not let us have it back. And
Savage.
and he made it even worse, right? Because he said, your wife too, like your wife can't. And then the buy-in that I would have from my wife to go
Mhm.
out and do whatever is
Prevent.
necessary. Like
Mhm.
that doesn't normally happen. The wife normally wouldn't say, or
Yeah.
the spouse wouldn't normally say, go do what it takes.
Yep.
It's like, well, you got to get home, you got to do these chores, you got to do
Right.
this. But the buy-in that
Yeah.
I would have from my wife in that situation. So where I'm going with it is like, gosh, how do we take all of that and
Mhm.
get the buy-in and then do these things that are uncomfortable? Why?
Mhm.
Because that's what it takes. And not waste time at all. You
Mhm.
would not waste any time if that was the situation.
I mean, in a sense, I put myself in that position 2 years ago. I quit my job and I had 3 months of reserves, and I had no big website. I had no website. I hadn't been on LinkedIn for years, and most of the people that knew me were at the company that I left. And it was one of those, I chose to jump off the end of the world, and now I'm going to learn if it's flat or round. Obviously, my faith was a huge part of that, of I believe that there is a bigger power leading me through this, and I had to believe in myself. And that is the biggest journey in the last 2 years of I am good at what I do. I am not for everybody, but I believe in what I do. And when I have somebody come to the table that I am going to serve, I know in the quality that I can deliver. And that level of confidence, that level of execution, I had to get there in that journey, but that desperation. And I also had to give myself permission to know that I wasn't going to get to that $100 million mark overnight or $1 million. And I had to just make it a mission to do everything that I could to build in a way that was genuine, but I had to get really scrappy. And I
Yeah.
also had to
Love
not
it.
care about perfection because I have a very high drive for it's got to be perfect and it's got to be good and it can't be released. And I have everything I've built in the last 2 years, I have built it as I don't have footing under my next step. I will pitch, I'm teaching a webinar and I'm like, I sold a webinar before I ever had the content built. I had nothing. I just put it out there. And then I was like, well, I have 1 week to build a webinar, a sales funnel, a lead magnet. And you
Yeah.
just kind of got to throw
Awesome.
yourself out there. So,
Awesome. All right. Last question. Your favorite book or
um,
books?
it's the Bible.
What does
Uh,
Katie read?
I mean, I do. I will say I don't read a lot because I've
How do
got
you
super
not
small
read a
kids.
lot and have that much
The
knowledge?
Audible. Obviously, yes, I love reading my Bible, but one book I read a little bit ago, it was called Who Believed in You? Gosh, and I'm missing their authors' names, but if you Google it, they were in politics. They're very, very brainy, nerdy people. But they talked about the science of mentorship and how meant really well. I mean, they interviewed I think the CEO of Microsoft and really, really big names, and they all tailed it back down to who was the most influential mentor in your life and how did mentorship single-handedly help shape you and position you to get to where you are. And I love that because I'm a high value for relationship. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have really wonderful mentors. And I have a very high value for mentoring people behind me. Um, so that was a book that was just I bought several copies. I mailed a copy to my old grad school professor who single-handedly transformed my academic career and just said, I hand wrote in it. And I just said, thank you for changing my life. So
Nice. That's awesome. I love it.
yeah.
Well, Katie, thank you for joining me. Thank you
Huh?
for sharing all that wisdom.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, I love what you're doing. I love ethos, just what you're building. I'll just tell really quick if I can just do a fun plug. Watching you over the last 2 years has been so cool to see. Building a company is not easy in any market. Building a mortgage company in one of the toughest markets is I think you're a little crazy, but to see you getting momentum and success and to see the team that you've developed is really cool. And so thanks for
Well,
just letting
thank
me
you.
be a small part of your story and your company's story.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And how does somebody pay you for your services if they want um,
Like a brand
a
book?
brand
Yeah,
book?
the best way is to go to my website, katieshive.com. I definitely have information on there on the details of what's included and what's the process and the pricing and that. You can obviously send me an email. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So that would probably be the best way is I would just say start with my website. And I have some testimonials and free resources and stuff. And if anything that I said resonated or you feel like we might be a good fit to work together, I'd love to have a conversation and see how we could find some opportunity to collaborate.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you again. And you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Katie's great. Spend some time following her on LinkedIn and go through her website. She really does have a great product. I think it would benefit all of you. There's some of you that have the ability to do this yourself.
Mm.
And I'd say the majority of you don't have that that gene in you to dig it out of yourself
Yep.
the way that she will dig it out of you. And then at the end of the day, I've tried to do so many things myself, especially with AI now,
Yep.
but I've come back full circle and it's like, I can do it, but
Yep.
it's just not worth my time
Yep.
anymore. And
100%.
somebody else can do it better than me. So
Yep.
think through that before you start wasting a lot of time. Just pay somebody to do it because it will be the best thing you can do. And then moving forward, you will know what your brand is. It will be very, very clearly defined. And you should know from that point forward, every decision you make needs to follow this path. Otherwise, you're off path,
Yep.
period. So
Yep.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much. We love you. Don't forget, comment, like, share, do all the fun stuff because it helps us. And we will see you next time.